Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly and today we are talking about the most disappointing and worst books I read in 2022. And boy do I have a list. I have 6 awful books and they truly were the books that I was like, ugh. Yeah, okay, so I have, full disclosure, I have filmed this video before, but I was just in a wretched mood, and I could tell I was just not here for it, and I have a channel changes video coming up, and a plan for next year that I'll share with you, and I'll share a bit more in that video, but just know that this is my second go around with this list, and I'm hoping that it'll be a bit more concise, because it was like sad Shelly for 30 minutes, and I was like, Girl, you can show up. You can show up and talk about bad books. So here's what I'm hoping that we can do. As I am sharing, I find it very cathartic to share books that I found disappointing or just awful. But as I'm sharing, please tell me your worst book of the year, whether you DNF'd it, did not finish it, whether you finished it and just were like, bleh. I want to know. So can we just have a cathartic moment together in the comments out there, just talking about the books that we found very, very not satisfying. And you know what's horrible about now that I think about disappointing books, bad books, the sad thing is that we readers spend so much time with these books, and then when it's not a satisfying experience, it's like, was that a waste of my time? Can I have my time back, please? It's one of those moments, and so, it's like, ugh, I don't know. There's just something really icky about a disappointing read, Anyhow, if you are new to my channel, then hi, welcome. I'm Shelly. I can't believe you just sat through that doozy of an intro, but I love reading. I really do. Whether it ends up being disappointing or not, I have this channel in order to vent my feelings. So if you also like, books, reading, that kind of thing, if I can steal from the Mr. Criminali, but I heard he's Criminjolly right now. Anyways, if you don't know who I'm talking about, I'm going to leave him linked down below. But anyways, if you want to hang out, talk about bad books, talk about good books from time to time, I would encourage you to subscribe and stick around. Now let's just go ahead and get into the meat of this video, which is pretty rancid. I'm scooched to the side so I have plenty of space to put in the bad book pictures because I don't own any of these. When I don't like a book, I donate it basically immediately. It's like, get it out of my life, get it out of my house. I don't want to see you. You make me mad. Okay, so we're going to start with books that I just think, I think that I didn't go in with the right expectations. And I also don't think they were very good books. But I also think it was exasperated because I didn't show up with the right mindset, okay? Like, I blame some of myself in not liking these books, okay? So I have I have 3 books that are like that, all right? Now, here's the deal. Sometimes when I hear about a book that somebody loves, whether it be here on booktube, whether it be part of a prize long list, sometimes I can really go into myself and I can start to think, this book will change me. I am going to read this book and come out a new woman. I'm like, there are going to be birds that, like a Disney princess, there are going to be birds that are like dressing me and doing my hair. I am going to be constantly talking in song, like the way that I communicate is in song. I am going to be a fully new person. And when the book doesn't do that, I get a little bit mad at the book. But then it's like, Shelly, no book is going to do that, Like, there's no book out there that is going to change you, that is going to make you someone that you were not. If anything, it might move you emotionally, it might change the way that you think a little bit, it might challenge you, but there is no book out there. Ooh, there's a bug. Get away. There is no book out there that is going to, change me, I'm gonna always be, Shelly Swearingen. So anyways, point is that sometimes I think that my expectations of a book is just so out of proportion for what a book is ever going to offer. And so I think that some of that is going on with the first 3 books on this list. Did I say I have 6 to share? I can't remember. Anyways, I have 6 books to share. So coming in at number 6, the book I liked the most out of the crappy books, you know. And that is going to be This Tender Land by William Kent Kruger. Now, there are huge fans of this on BookTube. And it tells the story of Odie, who runs away from a residential school and, you know, goes on an adventure down the river. It's sort of like a little bit of, you know, Odysseus traveling around and trying to find his way home. It's a little bit of Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, will be Huck Finn on the river, you know. It's a little bit of all of that, sort of borrowing from these classics, which I feel like I should have loved. But here's the deal. I didn't know where Odie's struggle was. I felt like he was first, like, the thrust of the book, it was going to be one aspect of it. And then it sort of changes into an existential crisis. And so I had to, like, switch it up. And then I was like, okay, so now we're going to be about the existential crisis that Odie is having. And then it changes it up again. And at the very end, it was so contrived and so just like, hi, I'm moving the chess pieces around, but in such a predictable and weird way that really didn't align for me with what the book was trying to do. I was just like, why? Like, I don't know, I feel like I was just like cheated as a reader, you know? I was like, what is this? Can we stick with one struggle and it's all about that struggle, and then, you know, we learn something in the end, or so, you know, something. But it was all over the place, and I just look back on that with kind of ugh, that face. Ugh. The next book is another well-loved book on BookTube. So, you know, I feel like a tiny bit sad for not liking it, but you know what? It's okay, because friends can disagree. And that's what makes life so fun, you know? And my next book, one of the things I really hate is when a book is so contrived. It's like, did you think I did not see that coming from a mile away? And I kid you not, I was talking with one of my friends and I predicted like a scene that was gonna happen like 200 pages before it actually happened. And then she was like, oh my gosh, you predicted it. I was like, I know, because you could just see it coming from a mile away. And I don't enjoy that. Like, I like to be surprised. I like things to feel fresh and new. And this was none of it. I just didn't like it. And so we're talking about Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. Oh, I really didn't like this book. I was so bored. I was like, okay, so this is happening, and I promise you this is gonna happen. And you could just see everything. You could just see the author like moving the pieces around. And I don't like that. I don't like when you can just feel where the story is going to go. And I could predict it. Just all about it. The whole thing I didn't like. Okay, sorry, Pachinko. Sorry, not sorry. Like, I'm not really sorry for not liking you. Like, you should have been better. The next book that I bought this book and read it. It was because of the booker. It was a long list for the booker, and I really shouldn't have trusted what the booker was putting out because it sounded so good in the synopsis. Like, when the marketing of the book was fabulous. And then I got in it and I was like, what is the point? Like, why? So it is After Sappho by Selby Winschwartz. Now this book is essentially, you know, Sappho is this ancient poet. There are only fragments of her work. And it was like the voice of Sappho needs to come out and reemerge in society. And so, you know, we follow, you know, famous artists, lesbians, kind of through, it sounds so good, right? You know, through history. But really what it ended up being was like vignettes that were very short, like a paragraph, a 5 or 6 sentence paragraph. And it would just like, you would get the paragraph and then it would break. It was almost like reading plaques on a museum. And then you're walking through the museum and there's no real, like there might be an overall theme, but there's no real thread or storytelling because you're just getting information about different items as you're walking through, you know, these historical pieces. And really that's what it was. And I was like, if I wanted to go to a museum about lesbian history, like I would go and I would see the artifacts and I would enjoy it. But in a book, I was like, what are you doing? There was like no storytelling. And it's like, okay, Selby Winshorts, you can write a beautiful sentence, but there has to be more, you know? Like, I'm not just here for the pretty words. So that first category was, you know, I'm going to blame a little bit of myself for buying in so hard that these books were going to change my life, change who I am. The last three, the ones that are at the top of this list, they're just bad. Like, they're just bad books, okay? And we're gonna start with Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. This was a portal fantasy type novel that turned murder mystery, which ended up being so contrived and predictable that I ended with, what was the point? It was weirdly brutal. And it felt like it was written for children, kind of, until the brutality of the murder came about. And I was just like, what is this? Who is this written for? I did not get it, okay? Like, I did not get it. I can't recommend it. It was just bad. So yeah, that's number 3. Number 2 is a book that I also kind of believed because it was, you know, people who didn't know me recommended this to me. It was like people in my real life who don't hang out with me on this channel, who have no idea about my reading taste. People out there in the, you know, the realness of life recommended this book to me. And I was like, why did you take the recommendation, Shelly? They don't know you. They don't know your reading taste. And yet I took it and I was like, this could be good. And then I got in it and I was like, this is so bad. I am offended. Like, it was so bad. And we're talking about Lore Olympus, Volume 1 by Rachel Smythe. This is a webtoon comic that ended up getting traditionally published, and it is a retelling of the Olympians. So we have, you know, Greek gods and goddesses. It was so anti-feminist. It was so bad. Women are cruel to each other. Men are cruel to the women, and yet the women sort of stand there all like doe-eyed and like, oh, isn't he just so hot? And I'm like, but he's treating you like crap. So bad on so many levels. But I think the creme de la creme, the pièce de résistance, oh, I did it, oh my gosh, of this book, the top thing that really kind of put it over as my number 2 was the fact that the women were drawn in a way that was just so sexual. And I was just like, that is, aren't we past this? And it wasn't like one character was like, you know, ooh, va-va-voom, and very voluptuous and had all the curves. No, it was like every female in the comic was just very blessed. And I was just like, girl, like in my very minute knowledge of the history of comic books, there is a very specific kind of body that the female has in traditional comics. And I feel like we are at this point now in 2022 where we can be a lot more respectful to the female body and the way that she's portrayed in a way that isn't so cookie cutter and sexual and just strange. And I just felt like Rachel Smythe didn't do that. Like, she wasn't very respectful to the female body, and it was very sexualized. It was just, to me, like, to the point where I was like, we need to move past this. We can do more. And it really just made me angry that she decided to go that route with her depictions of the female body. So that's my rant on Rachel Smythe's artwork. Sorry, Rachel Smythe. Sorry, not sorry. Like, we could do better. Okay, and my number one most disappointing, most hated read of the year was none other than the book talk queen, Colleen Hoover, and her book Verity. Now, I have a whole review about this book, and I will leave it linked down below, and boy, it was just awful. I mean, whew. Let's think. I mean, everything about the story was so contrived and just disgusting. I mean, oh, okay, so it starts, okay, I'll just give you, okay, I do want to talk about it because, you know, so it starts off with our main character. She is running late to a meeting in New York City, and right in front of her, somebody dies in a very brutal way. Like, I think his head gets ran over by a truck. I'm not spoiling anything because it was in the first 5 pages. And then she's like, oh my gosh, I've got blood on me. And like, we don't know this guy. It's really just like a plot device to help us like get invested in the story, but had no reason to be there except now she's got blood on her, and the guy who kind of helps her out ends up being like the guy in the novel. And I just didn't understand. I was just like, why would you open a book like that? You could have been like, I'm in New York City on a rainy day and mud gets on me, and it would have done the same thing, and there could have been the same accidental run-in, but instead, like, somebody just randomly dies, and it's like, oh, because it's New York, this happens all the time. I'm like, I was in New York, and I didn't see anybody die. I'm just like, what? So, you know, that was the beginning, and it only goes downhill from there. It was just so bad, y'all. It was so bad. So yeah, that was the worst book I read this year. Please, I hope you all have gotten busy and are telling me your worst reads. I'm gonna scoot back to the middle. That was very cathartic, y'all. That was so cathartic to share bad books with you, okay? Oh, that was, I feel great now. I feel lighter and all that. Okay, anyhow, I really hope that you shared your worst reads with me down in the comments. I would just love to know. Yeah, and that's it for me. So I am so excited to share these. Again, it feels like a weight has been lifted off my chest. Gosh, it's so great. Anyhow, yeah, I hope you all are having a wonderful holiday season. If you celebrate holidays during this time of year, we are really barreling towards the end of the year, and there is so much stuff going on in my life, in my reading life. We're just busy to the high heavens, you know? But yeah, so thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and hanging out. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you all in my next one. Bye!